Welcome back to Dark Nexus. Tonight, it's Act 3, Interlude 2.
Damn it!
Interlude!
I called it. I get something. Action point.
You do?
Yeah. Take
Yeah.
5
Take some experience
points.
Oh, man.
So just like Johnny,
Now
you
we're
will
tied.
level.
I was
a
so
little early.
excited that I was going to level first. I literally was like, oh.
No, it's okay. We level at different rates, I think.
Layers within layers, dreams within dreams. Y'all ready?
Let's
No.
do it.
Let's
Oh,
dive
yeah.
in. The year is 4660, 58 years ago. The month of Desnus, or May. This is not the beginning of our story. As we learned in our Act 3 prologue, this story truly began billions of years ago when Hastur's cloak scraped loose a cancerous scab from the sewer walls of Carcosa. But it is a beginning. And tonight's story takes place in Numeria. We've mentioned Numeria a few times over the course of the show thus far, primarily in relation to Tima, who we know came from there. I gave a super abbreviated highlight back in chapter 16 or something, and touched on it again somewhere in the 80s, I think, when you were going through the journals. But let me give you just a little overview of what you need to know about Numeria for the purposes of tonight's interlude. Maybe a little more than you strictly need, but it's a very fun location in this setting, and I love it. So Numeria is a land very close to Ustalav, bordering it on the northeast, in fact. And Numeria also shares a border with the River Kingdoms, which we've passed by on the Starling. So it's nearby, geographically speaking. I mean, relatively. The lands in that part of the continent are pretty sparsely populated and super dangerous. So the 250-mile distance between Thrushmoor and where tonight's events happen wouldn't feel at all close to the people living in that part of the world. But compared to Casimir, it's not too far away. Another place that Numeria borders is the World Wound. We've referenced this a little bit in relation to Barnabas' story. The basic gist of that is that after the god Eridan died, this 400-mile wide series of rifts to the abyss opened up. And for the past century or so, demons have been pouring out of it, armies of demons onto the material plane. It's led to the calling of numerous crusades over the years to hold back the invaders. But back to Numeria. Numeria was presumably once a vast, fertile grassland, but 9,000 years ago, a gigantic spaceship from the planet Androffa, located in a galaxy far, far away, crashed on Golarion, broke apart in the atmosphere, and showered this entire region of the continent with chunks of alien metal and technology, some starship components bigger than cities, and turned Numeria into a mostly barren, irradiated wasteland. For ages, the only people living out here were nomadic barbarian tribes eking out a truly harsh existence, often with short lifespans and propensities to weird mutations, owing to all the radiation and such. But life finds a way, right? And today, even though Numeria is still mostly populated by barbarian tribes, some actual cities have sprung up, and there are some swaths of land where the soil can be farmed and the water is clean enough to drink. Now, the fact of this spaceship is not something that the average person living in Golarion knows or understands. Even the average person in Numeria doesn't sit around thinking, there are starship modules beneath the earth here. The average person there knows about strange metals found beneath the soil, which can be mined and sold for profit. Star metals are the region's main export. And they know that sometimes weird constructs of unknown manufacture crawl out of the earth and start killing people, and we would think of them as honest-to-God robots. And there are these people living mostly in hiding with strange metallic/electric, what we'd call circuitry under their skin, that sometimes try to find a home on the edges of society, namely androids from Androffa, whose escape pods survived the crash. But again, the average person doesn't know much about this, and that is because of the Technic League. The Technic League is this secret society turned terrorist organization turned de facto governmental power. They began basically as a cabal of evil wizards and scholars that found the sole human survivor of the spaceship crash after she escaped her stasis chamber 9,000 years later. They learned all they could about Androphan technology from her, killed her, and then sought to lay claim to all the space-age technology they could find and control. And as the Technic League mastered the use of laser guns and futuristic mind control fluids, they grew more and more powerful. They went from being science geeks in hiding to warlords, to slavers and oppressors and dominators of the government. They have learned all they possibly can about Androphan technology while making sure that the truth about all of it remains as hidden as possible from outside eyes. Okay, that's Numeria in a nutshell. Just a little context for you. Let's meet tonight's air quotes heroes.
Oh boy.
I can't wait to find out who we are today.
I know, me neither.
A group of unlikely allies was brought together for a job by a woman of mystery. In one timeline, 5 renegades overcame the darkness of their past lives and settled into an almost Robin Hood-like existence as liberators and vigilantes, freeing the oppressed and taking black ops missions legitimate governments couldn't publicly claim knowledge of. This is not that timeline, nor those exact versions of those characters. In this timeline, they lost the woman that brought them together. Pathfinder Society venture captain who would have steered them into a life of exploration and heroism instead of the life of crime they landed in. So who are these bandits and crooks? Their leader was named Ripley. And whose character is that?
It's me!
Ripley came from a highfalutin family in Absalom, a very famous one, but there was a scandal. One their matriarch didn't exactly survive, not really. And when the crash came, it came fast and hard. Soon, the beloved scion was a disgraced pariah, forced to flee the city of her birth for a land where no one would recognize her very famous name, Numeria. Their muscle was named Morvius, and whose character is that?
That's me!
Morvius came from the realm of the Mammoth Lords, firstborn of their tribe's warlord. But there was a battle. One their tribe didn't exactly survive, not really. And in the aftermath, his life was traded away for a fleeting, momentary peace in the endless war with the orcs of the whole of Belkzen. But the peace didn't suit Morvius, so he fled the land of his ancestors for a country where might could prove right. Numeria. Their scout was named Dact. And whose character is that?
That's me!
Dact was actually born in Numeria in a town called, and I love this is real, Chitterhome, where many of his kind are from. He had worked for the Pathfinder Society for a time, but there was a betrayal. One, their career didn't exactly survive. And soon he was on the run, pursued by bounty hunters and forced into the wastes where the lies about his past would hopefully have less power over him. And finally, their surviving wielder of the arcane mysteries was named Archimedes. That's Robert's character, obviously. Archimedes was an enigma. No one outside of this group had any idea what he actually was, for he was a survivor of a cataclysm, one his people didn't survive. And with no home, no people, no civilization of his own, he had to learn to hide on the outskirts of his home of circumstance, Numeria. For all of them, memory is something they suppress. It's too much pain, too much confusion, dark, unsettling pasts. Identity is something they must keep hidden. Loss is a constant companion, something they carry with them and have experienced together. In one universe, in one timeline, their friend Kree, R.I.P., survived the Sanjeval mission. But in this timeline, they didn't. Aww. These folks never met that delightful chatterbox. Sorry, Chelsea. And the consequence of venture captain Sedona's death was they never found their higher calling, their purpose. They found each other, yes, but the life that they've made for themselves is on a very different side of the coin than the version of these people my 4 friends here know and love. So for the benefit of our listeners, who are these characters and when did you play them?
This is like 2017, maybe?
Through like 2020, I think is when we last did it. Mm-hmm.
These are our characters from our Starfinder adventure against the Aeon Throne.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Amazing.
We got about 2/3 of the way through that AP, I think, before pandemic made it difficult.
Yeah.
We got that far. I didn't think we got that far.
Yeah, I didn't think we got that's amazing.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see their Galarian translations.
Yes.
So at this point in their timeline, the last Chancers, as I'm thinking of them, had reached 8th
Nice.
level. What a coincidence, huh? And they were on a mission. I'm going to give you your sheets in a sec here, and I'll give you some time to look over them because they are going to be completely new to you. I had to make some choices as I ported these folks over from Starfinder and into entirely different lives. So in the other timeline, Ripley was a Lashunta envoy. Here, she's a changeling ringleader, which is an archetype of the Bard class focused on intimidation and creating devious plans.
Awesome.
That's so cool.
The other Morvius was a human soldier. Here, he's a vanguard, which is an archetype of the Slayer class focused on ambush and tactics.
Oh, that's awesome.
That doesn't sound like something John would like, though.
Not
Are you
at
sure
all.
you want to?
Oh,
Sorry,
I'm so
Johnny.
excited about that. That's awesome.
The other Dact was a Yosoki or Ratfolk operative, and here he's a Ratfolk scout, which is a rogue archetype focused on attacks made on the move.
Nice.
And Archimedes, as you all can imagine, was the hardest one to port over. He had been an android mechanic with a robot cat he had built. So in this universe,
Did you make him a summoner?
he's still an android because there are androids in Numeria, but now he's an unchained summoner. And Leo, his companion, is an extraplanar construct, a gleaming metallic lion from the plane of Axis.
Oh,
let
that's
me
so cool.
let me give you your sheets, and we'll let you look through them, and I'll let you all talk about what these folks can do. Everybody's got some interesting stuff. So it was a gang of criminal ruffians. This is very much an ambush party. They are geared around a crap ton of buffs, both for self and for party. They try to get themselves, most of the jobs they take are jobs where they are able to scout the place out, make a plan, buff the entire team. Because, without their buffs going, some of them are a little squishy. With their buffs going, they are monsters. So, Johnny, I know you were a little familiar with the Vanguard before I threw this at you. You want to tell us a little bit about what's going on with Morvius there?
Yeah, so the Vanguard is an archetype of the Slayer, and the Slayer is sort of like a cross between a rogue and a ranger.
Yeah.
It takes away sort of all the woodlandsy and spells type stuff and animal companion, takes away all those options, and instead makes them sort of like a ranger that also has more roguey skills and abilities and stuff. The main thing that they get is something called Study Target, where basically, at this point, as a swift or move action, I can apply a +2 to hit, +2 damage to up to 2 targets. And then the Vanguard gives away a couple different things to get Tactician, where I can grant a teamwork feat to my allies once a day. I think probably as a move action. I get Lookout, which is really cool. Rather than getting a bonus to survival checks, I get a bonus to initiative of half my level that just continues to go up. Ranger combat styles for longbow stuff. And I get some sneak attack. And a really cool thing, Ever Ready, I always get to act in a surprise round, which is pretty
always.
huge.
Yes.
Even if I'm surprised, I still get to act in the surprise round, which is pretty cool.
That's amazing.
And I have lots of feats that deal with firing a bow. I get Snapshot, which means I get to threaten and make attacks of opportunities with a longbow. And I have Point Blank Master longbow, which means that I never provoke attacks of opportunities while using my longbow. So literally, I could just be standing right next to someone and go, swip, swip, swip.
And why don't you give us a physical description of Morvius and maybe a highlight of what his ability score array looks like?
Morvius is kind of like a big, bruisery looking type guy, like a big beard,
right?
human, shaved head with a little bit of tuft on the top, and he's kind of not super tall, but very sort of thick.
Yeah.
Thick and broad, and he's got super high dex, high strength, pretty good con, and that's what he's got.
Got it. Awesome. Want to jump in with Dact?
Yeah, I think Dact is a great companion here. It's really interesting. So this scout subclass of the Unchained Rogue is really built for rushing in to combat and dealing sneak attack damage after a charge, or doing a shot on the run with a repeating hand crossbow. Very reminiscent of the Dact we knew from Starfinder.
Yeah, that operative ability basically kind of ports over to this exact archetype where it's like, as long as you have moved, you then get to add your sneak attack damage on an attack you make.
Yeah, just super cool. Some fun stuff, a +2 mithril chain shirt that I'm excited about. Dact is real heavy on the dexterity bonuses there, and ready to move in and help advance the front line with the Vanguard.
And give us a little physical description for him too.
Dact is a small, svelte little rat folk, more mousy than ratty. What Dact was really known for was doing these wild acrobatics checks in the midst of fighting, because it provided some bonus or a distraction of some sort.
I think it increased your damage or something, in that system.
So I'm looking forward to see what this Dact does on the battlefield.
Excellent. And what about Archimedes and Leo?
So Archimedes, firstly, he's an android.
Yeah.
So there's some cool stuff about that. He's immune to fatigue, exhaustion, disease, and sleep. And he's got a 25% chance to ignore any critical hits or sneak attacks.
Oh, right.
So that's kind
Right.
of cool.
That's awesome.
Skills-wise, he's not going to be very skillsy, but he's got some stealth, he's got some spellcraft, got a little escape artist going on. So his class is a summoner, which is an arcane spellcaster focusing on mainly bringing this extraplanar creature called the Eidolon in from another plane. So a lot of his class features and so forth are geared towards making the Eidolon as effective and powerful. I'll get to that in a minute. A couple other things about being an android. He has this thing called the nanite surge. So his body is infused with all these little nanobots, and once per day as an immediate action, he can cause them to surge, and basically for one d20 roll, he can roll as if he's 3 levels higher. Once per day. So that's kind of cool. His companion, Eidolon, Leo, is kind of like a celestial lion, sort of. He is both an outsider and a construct.
Yeah, he's a lion made of metal.
He is immune to non-lethal damage, fatigue, exhaustion, death effects, disease, and poison. He's got 10-foot reach with his bite attack that deals 2d6 plus 6 damage.
And is he large size? I can't remember. I think so, right?
Where is that size? No, just medium size.
Okay. But medium with reach.
But medium with 10 feet of reach.
Yeah.
Some of Archimedes' other abilities let him do things like when he's within 10 feet of Leo, he can add 2 to his armor class, and a +2 circumstance bonus to saving throws, which is pretty cool. He can sense things through his Eidolon, taste, smell, whatever the Eidolon is hearing, Archimedes can heal. I can also, once a day, I can either dimension door myself to where he is, or I can swap positions with him.
Oh, that's cool.
I think those are the big strokes.
And what does Archimedes look like?
He's a pretty nondescript. This is interesting, though. I feel like he was his charisma was very low in Starfinder, because the thing about the androids is they look fairly human, but they have no they don't fully understand human interaction.
Yeah.
But the charisma is very high here. So I'm not sure how that. We'll see how that manifests. But I still feel like appearance-wise, he just looks like a drab, bald, slightly grayish-skinned humanoid.
With
does he have the thing?
He has, yes. So he has the sort of third eye of a magical gem embedded in his forehead, and then his skin is just covered in electrical circuitry.
Yes, it's like just under. It looks like just under the surface of the skin.
So I think because the summoner class is based off of charisma, I had to shift focus there, and I think I gave you either a feat or a trait that gets rid of the emotionless thing.
It did. You gave me the feat, the empathy feet.
Right.
So I lose the emotionless special ability, which
Sort of gets rid of one of your penalties there. And my thought was, since these are crooks and have been dealing with the underworld, this particular version of Archimedes has probably had to be a little more engaged in some of the interactions and present than the other one was. And Katie, Ripley.
Ripley is a ringleader.
Tell us about that.
This is a bard archetype. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Heavily invested in intimidation. She's a bully. But they do the crux of it appears to be this cunning plan ability, which is taking a minute to set up a plan, like for an ambush, and then triggering it, which is basically allowing any of the allies or herself to trigger the plan, and then you start to get her bonuses, like a bard would for bardic performance, whether inspire competence or I get to set it up with 2 and then pick the one we want in the moment. Like if it turns into a fight, maybe I'll do inspire courage, and if it turns into a sneaking around skills challenge, I'm definitely going to do inspire competence or whatever. So
Like pre-embedding the bardic performances in all of your in all of you.
And
so
because
that's so
she
cool.
can do that, doing a regular bardic performance, like if they get ambushed, is a little bit harder. It costs more rounds to launch it and stuff like that. But she's also got some swashbuckler stuff going on here, which is really, really fun.
I was trying to find a way to sort of do the envoy thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, totally. Fun and lots of support and boosting spells and wands on her person. Huge charisma. Not a lot of hit points.
No.
Very, very, very few hit points. Really, so many less hit points than Dora. It's almost shocking.
I think
Less hit points than Dora?
Far fewer hit points than Dora.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think
Like multiple
before the buffs
levels
come on,
with-
I think Morbius and Leo are the only ones with hit points not to kind of scoff at. What does Ripley look like?
She's pale, dark hair. She passes for humanoid except for her differently colored eyes,
Yeah.
much like Winter.
Yes.
So she probably looks
same
a
species.
little like Winter.
So we know Morbius fights primarily with a bow, a
Yep.
long bow. What about Dact?
Dact is armed with daggers that they use, but also this repeating crossbow.
Oh, right. Right. I tried to replace your pistol from the
Yeah,
Starfighter.
that's nice.
Repeating crossbow and daggers. And what about Ripley?
She's got a +1 short bow, but also a masterwork rapier, which is, I think, what she would use for her dazzling display.
Right.
Which she gets as part of her ringleader
Oh, that's cool.
thing. Yeah. She also has this one ability, can I just say? It's kind of my favorite thing I've ever read, just for the flavor text. It's called Never Lose Face. A ringleader is never outdone by her minions. At second level, she gets a +2 bonus on saving throws against effects that also target one or more of her allies.
Oh,
That's awesome. That's
awesome.
really cool.
That's really cool. I didn't remember that. And then my guess is Archimedes probably stays mostly out of combat himself, but he's probably got some weapon, right?
he has a +1 keen short spear.
Oh, cool.
But yes, he will probably let Leo do most of his melee responsibilities. Magic-wise, he's got a communal protection from evil. He's got a communal resist energy for some group buffs, and then most of his other things are buffing himself. So
Which means also buffing Leo.
I can
Nice.
at the same time, or one or the other.
One or the other.
So yeah, anything that has any spell I have that has a target of you, meaning me, I can also cast on Leo.
Yeah. It's
I'll
awesome.
just let you all know Ripley has haste. Do not run away from her at the top of combat.
Got it.
This is fun. I made these characters, I think, back in June, which now for us is 8 months ago. It's been a long
It's a long time.
And I didn't refresh myself because I thought it would be fun to listen to this particular part of the conversation. Alrighty. So, the mission. The 4 of you in this universe, in this timeline, are mercenaries. Sellswords. Banditry, theft, infiltration. You find jobs, or jobs find you, and you carry them out. And this particular job, well, your part in it, at least, is fairly straightforward, even though the larger operation, not so much. And you all had to admire the effort and planning that the 3 masterminds put into this. These 3 guys, no one really knew much about them, where they came from, what their actual names were, how they got their intel, what their longer-term plans were. But there's just something about these guys. They talked big, they planned big, they took bold action. When talking to them, you always had this feeling like you were talking to destiny. Like these guys were going to capital MTM, make their mark on the world. Some people just exude that. You know what I'm saying? So there were 3 of them and 3 teams. You weren't the only outfit they hired for this gig. You didn't spend a ton of time with the other crew, but they seemed just as capable as y'all. Don't worry about them. And here was the situation. Let me take you to a map of Numeria.
And you said we are 50 years prior to the events
58.
we are currently playing. 58.
The target was an ostensible merchant caravan making its way from Daggermark in the River Kingdoms to Nerosian, the capital of Mendev, the holy city of Iomade and the headquarters of the Crusades. The cover for this caravan was that a good-hearted benefactor was sending weapons and supplies north to be used against the demons in the upcoming Third Crusade. The truth of this caravan was need to know, and y'all didn't need to know it, but you could pick up around the edges of the conversation that it must be Technic League involved, since you've been warned to expect the possibility of unusual weaponry, and it was probably the whiff of potential Technic Leaguiness around the edges that got you all hooked in, since generally you went out of your way to take these fuckers down whenever you could, because they saw Archimedes' kind as targets for capture, torture, and experimentation. Now, the path of this caravan was a dangerous one. It would emerge from the Echo Wood, which acts as the border between Numeria and the River Kingdoms. It would travel 100 miles north through what is called the Fell Dales. This region is marred by the direct damage from the spaceship crash. Desert landscape, mesas, box canyons, sky metal mines, strange waves of color floating through the air capable of consuming passersby, radiation, that kind of place. From there, the caravan would cross the plain of 10,000 swords. We don't have to worry about that hellhole, because your ambush is taking place right at the southern border of Numeria, right where the forest meets the canyons. The wagon train travels in 3 parts. Number 1, the main cluster of vehicles and guards. That is the boss's target, not your problem. But it sounds like a ton of guards, devil-bound Chalaxians or something. Those 3 guys have quite a fight on their hands. Then number 2, the aerial reconnaissance wing. 4 creatures called Dare High. These are humanoids that look like gorillas with vulture wings. It might put you in mind of an Alhul, but they're very different. Smaller, different wings, very intelligent. The big thing about them is they have these booming voices, and when they unleash the full power of them, they can be heard up to 12 miles away. Obviously a great alarm system, right? Now the good news for y'all is those things are also not your problem. The other team is taking care of them, somehow. Finally, the Vanguard/Scouts, they are your target. So since the path of this caravan leads them through a vast wasteland of maze-like box canyons, they send a team of minotaurs up front. 5 of them, led by one that your bosses call Bluebeard. You can expect a mix of conventional weaponry and some unusual weaponry. Also, they travel with what appears to be a human child. No clue what it actually is or what its purpose is, since no one's seen it in action and survived. But the Minotaurs keep it at the heart of their group and protect it, whatever it is. So there's some unknowns in your encounter, exactly what technological weapons they may have, what they do, what the kid is for. Kid's for something. You're sure about that. But this is the reason you all were hired. You are trusted to figure shit out, improvise efficiently, and to take lethal action, and to take out this group quickly and, emphasis on, quietly. Now, the bosses want to time their part of the ambush for the period when the wagons are leaving the heavy cover of the woods and just starting to spill out into the little patch of open land before the trail heads into the canyons. They expect a slight relaxation in the guards at this moment. The vanguard, your target, will be briefly out of sight from the wagons as they begin to scout what's going on inside the canyon. So that means there's a very specific spot in the opening stretch of this box canyon where the vanguard team needs to be hit. And they want you all striking at the same time. The group working on the aerial scouts is on their own timeline, but the goal is that when this moment hits, at least 3 of the 4 Dare High will be out of the picture and can't be used to signal warnings. Fingers crossed. That'll leave possibly 1 that they'll still be working on, so not your problem, but keep your eyes peeled and keep things quiet. All right, let me take you to a map so you can figure out how you want to set yourselves up.
Did we establish how long we have been in operation together as a unit?
Oh, in my mind,
8 levels.
yeah, I mean,
A while.
years.
Okay.
Years. Long enough that...
Or
I
in
have-
an AP, days.
It's true. But I think in the case of this storyline, a fairly significant chunk of time, enough
Okay.
so that you have actually all, as I kind of built you, you have got some complementary feat choices at various places. You've all leaned into mitigating each other's weaknesses to a certain point. You've all leaned into this is how we ambush. So like heavy, I think all of you maybe have improved initiative. I think you've been fighting together for a good long time.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Are you all on this map?
Aye.
Walk around it. So your ambush spot is at what's essentially a hairpin turn in this box canyon. The floor of the canyon is 80 feet below the top, so nice and deep. The area up top is wide open, and you don't want anyone to get up there because if there is still a Dare High flying around, they'll be spotted miles away. There are 3 areas inside this hairpin turn above the canyon floor at around a 20-foot height. The first is a nice long ledge about 5 to 10 feet wide overlooking the interior of the curve. Everybody see that?
Yep.
Yar.
There's one small, like 10 feet by 10 feet spot on the outside of the hairpin directly opposite that first ledge at what's essentially the narrowest point of the canyon. It's about 20 feet wide at that point. That's this little cubby down here. And then there's a big old ledge after the turn is done. That's where your tokens were originally. It's on the outside side. Lots of room up there. Very easy to hide out of view, but it's also a little distant from the obvious choke point of the hairpin turn. So I will let you all start talking about how you might want to set up an ambush here and what your plan might be. Oh, there's a sort of natural staircase up to the big final ledge. You see that all on your map? I'm pigging here. So that exists. But otherwise, there's no way up or down from the other 2 ledges unless you want to set up some ropes. And just assume you've got whatever mundane gear you would have wanted. You knew where you knew the environment into which you were headed. And timing. This attack is happening at night. It's on the night of the full moon, though, so there'll be enough light to see outside of the canyon, but things will be pretty darn dim down here. The nice thing is, of course, every single one of you has dark vision, so you'll all be good for 60 feet. Further than that may get a little tricky, depending on how the moonlight is hitting down here. Let's say that the light is coming from the right side of our map, so squares right up against the east wall down there would be in total darkness, and squares more towards the middle or the west would be bathed in moonlight, so just normal concealment if they're out of range of your dark vision. Does that make sense? And that might be a thing to just let's all check in as we get going. If anything starts getting crowded inside a shadowy area, let's help each other remember that. Or if it's way out in the open in the light, we can remember that as well. All right, why don't you talk it over?
And we are expecting them to be coming from the southwest.
They will be approaching
correct?
from the southwest, yes.
Right, boss, what's the plan?
Well, that ledge in the middle looks good to me.
Yeah, let's get up there.
But what is there to make knowledge checks on? Obviously the Minotaurs.
You know you're facing Minotaurs. There's no information about whatever the heck this freaky child is, but
Right.
let's make some checks on Minotaurs.
What is the knowledge for Minotaurs?
Nature. Monstrous humanoids.
Don't know nothing about them. They got horns sticking out their heads. Right?
17.
Minotaurs are pretty common creatures, and there's not too much to know about them aside from the fact that they are large, monstrous humanoids.
Beefy
Beefy boys with the heads of bulls. They will take up 10-foot square and they will have 10-foot reach. You know they possess a natural cunning. They're not especially intelligent, but they are immune to maze spells. They are unable to ever become lost, and further, they are never caught flat-footed. They will never have the flat-footed condition.
No matter what.
No matter what.
So
There goes that
what does that
abilities.
do to? Are there any
No, they
conditions
just,
you
it's
can?
going to be more about flanking and stuff. Yeah.
So they can still be flanked.
They can be flanked.
Great.
You also know they've got these gigantic horns on top of their head. They have a powerful charge ability that they can charge and do a crap ton of damage with those.
Goring.
And let's see, they have dark vision. And they're reasonably percepty for essentially kind of gianty tanks.
Not so much magical, though.
No magic. There are no magic abilities.
What do we know about this sort of armaments they might be carrying?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's impossible to say. This whole region is littered with all sorts of weird shit. Some things that you would have commonly run across in your travels would be pistols or rifles with either limited charges remaining from their 9,000-year-old batteries, often glitching. Typically, they're going to be like straight
Laser
up
guns.
laser pistols or zero weapons, like cold weapons. So fire and cold are going to be common energy types that you would face when you're dealing with technological Entrophan weapons. And then from beyond that, you might, when you start to eyeball the things that they're carrying, we might start making some knowledge checks to see, too, if you recognize any certain thing.
Right, fair enough.
Yeah.
How are we going to stop them from getting back and going back to where they're supposed to go? We got a wall.
Well,
We got a way to stop them. You want to drop Leo in here?
could drop Leo in there. Leo could fly. And try to cut off their retreat.
They don't seem like ones that will run away.
Never know.
You would understand their job as the vanguard and scouts to be, if they run into any difficulties,
Is to run back and let them know.
Run back and let them know.
So we have to stop them from going that way.
Exactly.
Okay, well, we don't have a lot of muscly stopping abilities.
Correct. No, you'll be leaning on
So we'll want to
element
let
of surprise.
them get pretty far, right? We'll want to let them get into this area so that retreating is longer.
So we let them go around the curve, and then we drop in and we just take them out. Right?
Yeah.
By drop in, Morpheus means drop in on the ground behind him.
Yeah.
All right.
We want to hit them hard as fast as possible.
How many flies you got?
Fly is 3rd level. I have 3.
A flying archer might be good.
The base of the box canyon is also littered with many large boulders there, as you can see depicted on the map. So right now where you see Paul's Dact token, that boulder there would probably be, it's 5 feet wide, so it's probably the size of a human. So it would be very easy for Dact to gain cover and hide behind that if Dact wanted to risk being on the ground as a starting spot. And the same would go for any boulder you see depicted there. You have enough time to, if you want to move it enough that you can tuck yourself behind it.
Well, what I do best is I run in quick and deal as much damage as possible and run back away. That's my...
I would like it at the top if we were all together so that I could haste you for 8 rounds.
How close do you have to be?
No, two creatures 30 feet apart. More than 30 feet apart.
So if you were up on the ledge and
I'm
people
going
were
to be
down
up
below,
on the ledge, under an invisibility sphere, hanging and watching.
So, Morpheus, would you like a fly?
Oh, yeah.
Right when we spot them,
Oh, that'd be great, mate.
I could give you a fly. I could give Leo a fly, and then I have 1 3rd level spell left for either a dispel magic or a communal resist energy once we see
What we're up against.
what we see.
well, then it might be easier for us to start on the ground, and then I could fly you up with me.
Oh,
So we start in an around the corner spot,
Right around the hairpin.
Under an invisibility sphere, which is
Uh-huh.
centered on me
and then
and travels with me.
and then you and I could blast
Fly up.
off and get
Interesting.
ready.
Great.
And I could also at that point go, here's my
My feet, your feet.
my 1 feet that
Yeah.
will last for 7 rounds.
Yeah.
So, like, here?
I don't want to be on the ground.
Oh, that's right. I mean,
I'm very squishy, in spite of my metallic nature.
I can also lift off the ground 350 pounds, so I don't see why I would not be able to pick you both up and fly.
Oh, and Leo, could I ride Leo?
Yes, 100%.
Leo could
There we
also
go.
take me up.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay.
Yes,
yeah,
you can
that's-
ride Leo into battle. We didn't come here not to ride the construct kitty.
If all these things can be done within 30 feet, how about Dak just stays on the ground and y'all just stay up on top? We don't have to do any flying, right? I'm still within range.
yep.
Oh, we just do the flip.
Yeah.
Sure. One person on the ground. 100%.
All right, let's do this.
While we're talking, Ripley takes out her wand of lucky number. And everybody should roll a d20
Oh, I'm so excited about
and then
rolling.
write it down.
Well, everybody's rolling their number. Katie, tell us what this spell does.
Everybody rolls a d20, and for the next 24 hours, it's your lucky number. If that number comes up on a d20 roll, you can decide either to re-roll it or get a +2 luck bonus on the roll. Once you use it, it's gone, but maybe it's the little thing that makes a difference later.
One number for me, a different number for Leo, or
I will cast it on Leo if he can take it.
It says any target.
One willing creature, I've got a wand with 10 charges.
Perfect. Yeah, Leo can have his own number.
I will have my own number too. Because why not? I rolled a 20.
The only bad result.
The only ultra stupid result.
Yeah.
What is everyone's lucky number?
12.
Archimedes 3, Leo fuck me 1.
Hey.
Nice.
Awesome.
Excellent.
14.
As we're talking, you are each implanted with 16 rounds of either Inspire Courage,
Which does what?
which does a +2 morale bonus to saves versus Charm and Fear, and a +2 competence bonus to attacks and damage.
Awesome.
And you are also implanted with Inspire Competence, which is a +3 bonus to a skill check. Now, all of you, as a move action, can decide to begin this performance in your mind, to remember what Ripley told you during laying out her cunning plan. You can choose either Inspire Courage or Inspire Competence. If you choose Inspire Competence, you pick the skill you want to use, or you can choose the Inspire Courage. Also, I could pull a coach move and start it for all of you because I
Not for
see
all.
something.
Each move
Oh,
is
as a swift action, I can start it for one of you. I don't know why I would do that if they all have choices.
because maybe the action economy demands it.
Right.
And you can do it as a swift action and a move action. So you could trigger 2 allies in the same round and
Could
still
I
have a
not
standard
trigger
action.
3? Move, swift?
Or
Yeah.
move,
Yeah.
swift,
Yes, you
move,
could.
standard.
Yes, you could. You could do
Yeah.
all. Yeah, absolutely.
So I could do it for you, but then I'm choosing for you, which I don't like.
Well,
But-
we'll see what happens. Are we at the point now where we're talking 8-minute buffs? We might be there.
I'm going to do an 80-minute buff of
Great.
bark skin
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
for my squishy self.
And you can put it on Leo as well if you want.
Yeah, and I've got 5 of those, so I'll do one. I'm going to put one on Kitty.
I've got a 10-minute one.
Awesome.
I give everybody a tap of the Remove Fear wand.
Excellent.
what does that do?
Read that out to
That
us.
grants you a +4 morale bonus against fear effects for 10 minutes.
Okay, so that will override the
+2, +2.
+2.
If you have that
if you have
one
that
going.
Awesome.
Dact has a potion of invisibility with a 3-minute time on it, so we're going to wait on that for a little bit. But
All right, let's move into the 8-minute buffs.
Are you ready for this? It goes so bad.
Yes.
This is what we're here to do.
Expeditious retreat for anybody who wants it. Which I think
I've got fly on, so I don't think that fly is going to
Leo
be...
has fly. I want it just to have.
I also have it. If we need another
Right,
one
but
later.
then you don't have to cast the spell. This is a wand.
Oh,
fuck
gotcha,
it. It's
gotcha.
all right. You can use that slot for something else.
Expeditious retreat and haste do not stack, right?
Correct.
But it lasts longer.
Oh,
So when haste runs out, you'll still have expeditious retreat.
okay. So that's a wand?
That's a wand.
Okay. So we're still...
And then I have another one.
So just story-wise, I'm sorry to go back to
It's okay.
the ledge, but if we're tapping with wands, maybe Dact would have a rope ready to
Yeah.
descend.
Just slide down.
Yeah,
Great.
so if we're doing stuff with
Yeah.
wands.
Easy to do.
Yeah.
Also, if you like the idea of being behind this rock, I mean, can we, once we cast the haste, Leo could just fly us both down there, and then we could both crouch down behind that rock.
Leo and Dak, not Archimedes. Right?
Yes, Leo and Dact, not Archimedes. No,
100%.
Yeah.
If that sounds good.
You got a way down. Excellent.
All right, so everyone's starting up top.
Yep.
So expeditious retreat all around. Should it be?
Do you have one you want to sneak in?
I mean, I've put a bull strength on Archimedes, or on
Leo.
That's when at the 8 minutes. That's when the flies would get cast.
Great. And who's getting those?
Leo and Morvius.
Awesome.
Then I'm also gonna I'm gonna cast Magic Fang on Leo as well. +1 enhancement bonus to attack and damage rolls.
Great.
Okay, I'm into spells I'm actually casting now.
Great.
Done with my wands.
Yep.
A Cat's Grace on Morvius and Dact,
Nice.
+4 enhancement bonus to Dex. And then Invisibility Sphere.
Yeah, this is a new spell for this campaign.
Yeah,
Why don't
I
you
love
read
this
that out
spell.
for us?
This spell confers invisibility upon all creatures within 10 feet of the recipient at the time the spell is cast.
And you are the recipient.
And I am the recipient, yes. So we can see each other and ourselves
So great.
until you leave it. And then you won't know where I am.
And if you attack, what happens?
If you attack, you become invisible wherever
Great.
you're standing.
Okay.
Any other 8 minutes? Excellent. Let's now transition into all right, we know we're within this 8-minute window. Sometime in the next, 5 to 8 minutes, they are going to hit this spot. Where do I want to be when the first person who sees them sees them?
And then anybody who wants to be invisible,
Square.
just get in that yellow circle.
So we have Ripley hugging the wall of the hairpin, staring to the southwest, keeping an eye out for the approach of the vanguard forces. Leo is right next to her with Dact clinging to his back. Morvius is standing right next to Leo, I'm assuming bow drawn, flaming longbow drawn, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Archimedes is about 10 feet to the north of Ripley, right around the corner, keeping out of range until this fight begins. Is there anything that gets cast between 8 minutes and the point of contact? Now is the moment to speak up or forever hold your peace.
I have silence, but I feel like that's going to mess us up. Unless you want me to put it on an arrow or anything. In case there's a caster, like the child.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that seems...
that's rounds per level too, so...
So that might be a right after haste.
That feels... Yeah. When you're doing haste is the same time I'm doing the... this is what my teamwork feat does.
So then maybe it's haste, and then you make a decision of here's a silence arrow, or
If we don't need it, I've got a bow too. If something's casting, I can try to shoot it.
and remember
Part
part
not
of
going to be nearly as good as you
So-
are, but
part of the point of this mission
Yeah.
is to make sure that no sound gets back to the main caravan.
Yeah.
Not only none of these minotaurs retreat back there, but that enough of a hullabaloo doesn't happen to draw the attention back there, or to maybe draw attention to the flying gorillas in the air.
So if
should
we
any
make
remain.
if we make them quiet, they can't make the hullabaloo.
yeah, that's why I was suggesting
Yeah. Hand me the arrow.
giving you a silence arrow.
Yeah.
But that has to be after haste.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you have to get away from Archimedes. so that he can cast spells.
And I think reasonably, you are standing
Yeah.
right next to each other. So,
Yeah.
Katie, you could cast it on an arrow in his quiver. We don't have to deal with
Yeah.
the action economy of now I pass it to...
Yeah.
Great, yeah.
Easily done.
Okay.
May I have something in my hand, or do I need both hands to clutch onto Leo?
You can have something in a hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, see?
Like a dagger.
Now I was thinking more like a potion of invisibility.
Ooh.
All right, give me your perception check there, Katie, for Ripley. And I can take one as well based on this configuration here. I can take one from Morvius and from Leo and from Dact. What do we got? What do we got?
I got a 20.
I also have an adjusted 20 for Leo.
Great.
26.
16.
All right. After about 4 minutes, you see them. 5 minotaurs and a child. The minotaurs, they all range between 8 and 10 feet tall, heavily muscled humanoids with cloven hooves, tails, and the heads of horned bulls. Bluebeard, the leader, is immediately obvious. He doesn't really have a beard, but all of his fur has been dyed electric blue. I'll get back to him. The 4 other minotaurs are all wearing giant spider silk armor. They all have ranged weapons out. The tallest one, I'll call him Beefy Boy, and an older looking one, I'll call him Gray Guy, because his brown fur is going mostly gray. They're each holding an exotic weapon called a Minotaur double crossbow. You all would know what these are. Picture a crossbow sized for a giant that fires 2 harpoon-sized bolts simultaneously. Gray Guy also has a giant-sized great axe slung to his back, and Beefy Boy has a bizarre-looking sword slung at his belt. It's sized for a human, so it looks a little small on him, like small sword sized on him. It looks completely alien in its design and seems to be made partially of adamantine and partially of green crystal. Definitely a technological future tech weapon. We'll get checks in a second. One I'll call him Old Sick Eyes, because the whites of his eyes have a sickly, jaundiced tint to them, is holding a weapon that, if I were being cheeky, I'd call a long, sleek, metallic scepter. Except this party has seen technological weapons before, and they can tell it's an energy rifle of some sort. Either cold or fire, almost certainly. Sub-zero pellets or laser beams. And the one I'll call the Runt, because he's the smallest, at just a little bit under 8 feet tall. He's got a sleek, metallic pistol in his hand. Also, obviously, to the 4 of you, an energy weapon. For melee weapons, Old Sick Eyes and the Runt have battle axes at their hips. Now back to Bluebeard. Obvious badass, terrifying dead eyes, mithril chainmail, and 2 technological weapons that seem insanely complicated and freaky. His ranged weapon is armed, and none of you have ever seen this before. You have no clue what the heck it's gonna do. It's a huge, clunky, long-barreled weapon braced in a rig attached to his hip and slung both around his torso and over his shoulders. Picture like an even higher tech, even larger version of the rifles that Vasquez and Drake have in Aliens.
Oh, God.
And then there's some sort of high-tech melee weapon he's got at his belt that looks like a giant metal box with buttons and handles, out of which extends like a 4-foot-long, flat, rounded blade enclosed inside loops of metal. It's a Minotaur with a chainsaw! Your characters don't know what exactly is going on there, but I think you would have seen enough mechanical, electrical powered things that rotate blades. You wouldn't want to be hit by it. Oh, and he's also wearing a crazy giant metal backpack. And then the kid, completely dwarfed by these minotaurs, enveloped in a long, hooded, dull blue robe, the size of maybe like a 6-year-old human child. He appears to be walking along, looking down at the ground, so cloak covering his face, not even at the environment around him. There's no clue if there's any gear under that voluminous robe. Give me some, let's just take a knowledge local check to see if we recognize any of this, any of these particular weapons.
15.
24.
Okay. Ripley would recognize the sword that Beefy Boy is carrying. This adamantine/green crystal sword. It's called a null blade. A potent fusion of magic and advanced science. Devised as weapons against both magic and machine. They incorporate an adamantine no-qual alloy in their blades. They are +1 construct bane weapons, and they can be activated to use charges in the enclosed battery to create a shimmering field of green energy that disrupts magic and technology alike. This will increase the weapon's enhancement bonus, and the first time every round an activated null blade strikes a creature or object, it consumes a charge and targets the creature or object with Dispel Magic and Discharge. Now, Discharge is basically Dispel Magic against robots, so that's not going to come into play here. But it will be, the first time every round that it hits a target, they're going to get targeted by a targeted Dispel Magic. And then, 24 you said, Katie?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a laser pistol
Great.
in the hand of the Runt. Runt's got a laser pistol, and old Sick Eyes has got a Sub-Zero rifle. So fire damage and then cold damage from the rifle. And you would know that those Zero rifles, those Androphen Zero rifles, they are automatic weapons. So they've got a whole bunch of different firing options, from, taking multiple attacks in a round to firing in a line, kind of like a lightning bolt essentially, but with cold damage. As you're seeing them come around that corner down to the south, it's Beefy Boy in the lead with his Minotaur double crossbow in hand. Then Grey Guy and the Runt are flanking the kid. Bluebeard's right behind them, and then old Sick Eyes with his Sub-Zero rifle is in the back. Beefy Boy is about 20 feet ahead of the cluster flanking the child. At the point that you see them, they would be right off of this map, essentially one round away from Beefy Boy being pretty close to right below you. At that point, you spot them. They do not spot you. You are all invisible and can see each other. If you have any moves or actions you want to take in this round while they are 80-some feet away between the 60 feet on the ground and the 20 feet down from there, you'd reasonably have a round of actions to take here if you want to.
I'm going to cast Communal Resist Energy Cold.
Does that have a verbal component?
That's an excellent question.
Thank you. I've been working on it all day.
It does.
You got distance on your side.
Yeah, we want to do it now.
Yeah.
I mean, we are in a canyon.
So the four of you, 20 feet above the floor of this deep box canyon. Want to give it a shot?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
2 on the die. Your spell's been cast. They don't appear to have noticed. So what does that give to everybody?
So I cast this on Leo and the other 3. I did not cast it on myself.
Got it.
This abjuration grants limited protection from damage of whichever one of 5 energy types, cold. The subject gains resist energy 10 against the energy type chosen, meaning that each time the creatures are subjected to such damage, whether from a natural or magical source, that damage is reduced by 10 points before being applied to the creature's hit points. The value of the energy resistance granted increases to 20 points at 7th level.
So 20.
So it's 20.
Wow.
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. And then Johnny was doing a thing.
Tactician, I will grant allies the teamwork feat of coordinated shot. If your ally with this feat is threatening an opponent and is not providing cover to that opponent against your ranged attacks, you gain +1 bonus on ranged attacks against that opponent. If your ally with this feat is flanking that opponent with another ally, even if that other ally doesn't have this feat, this bonus increases to +2.
So we're looking for allies that are either flanking or threatening enemies that you are attacking.
Correct.
And the you is anybody who has this feat.
Which is now all of us.
Everybody. Oh, that's awesome.
If Dact wanted to get down onto the canyon floor, now would be the time, right? Or is it too late?
You gonna wait for haste?
Okay.
I do want to do haste now, though, rather than wait and risk being spotted up here right before you jump down into the canyon.
Yeah.
Okay, so haste is going.
All right.
There you go, haste.
It'll won't go as deep into the fight, but
That 2 I rolled on the perception check carries over. They do not hear you cast haste. Everybody gets very hopped up and speedy. Is this the moment that Dact and Leo head down?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
You're eyeing behind that boulder.
That's right. And Dact drowns their potion of invisibility.
nice.
So while they're still off the map here, Morvius would have another action available to him if he wants to go anywhere, or does he want to hang tight?
He is going to hang tight, but he is also going to go ahead and make, let's see. Which ones of them look like the sort of slowest and least well-armored?
The kit on the 4 non-Bluebeard types is pretty much the same. They're all wearing the same spider silk armor. They look like they've got, normal Minotaur move speed. Bluebeard in his chainmail will probably be moving a little bit slower.
I will make the Runt and Bluebeard my study targets.
And you don't need range for that?
Nope, as long as I can see them.
That's amazing. The whole team of them moves ahead, moves around this corner just as up in the sky, cloud cover starts to move in and things get really dark really quickly. Fortunately, this is not going to affect any of the 4 of you with your dark vision, but it is something that you are aware of. There seems to be...
Unnaturally so.
No.
Like the little kid is a druid and is making this happen.
No. It seems like you're at that weird geographical place where a very cold forest spills out onto these plains that before not too long become deserty, irradiated wasteland. So there's just a lot of weather events that happen in this area. Clouds will roll in, mist cover will happen. Yeah, it's the perfect spot for some dramatic combat. The 6 members of the Vanguard team clear around that corner, and just as Beefy Boy is cresting close to the midpoint of the hairpin, all the Minotaurs have their eyes trained all around, Kid keeping his head down to the ground. All of a sudden, at this moment, when Beefy Boy is 20 feet away from Dact and Leo, who are hidden behind a giant boulder, and 10 feet away from being directly under Morvius, the child simply raises his head and points a hand up to the ledge upon which Morvius, Ripley, and Archimedes are standing. Everybody roll initiative. Dact.
9.
Oh.
That was a natural 1.
Oh, Dact.
Yeah.
Morvius.
With my plus 12,
Yeah.
I got a 17.
Oh, boy. This is going great. Ripley.
15.
Okay. And Archimedes.
25.
25 for Archimedes and Leo. All right, top of round 1 here. So, because of whatever supernatural creepiness the kids got going on here, this fight is not starting in an ideal way vis-a-vis the whole preventing them from getting away and reporting back to the main body of the caravan. Because while Beefy Boy is right in the center of the kill zone, pretty much the rest of them are not, and old Sick Eyes in the rear is so far back, I'm guessing Dact and Leo probably can't even see him. Is that correct?
I
Yeah.
can't see him.
I can only see a gray guy and Beefy Boy.
But you got a nice whole full round of buffing off, and even though the kid has called the Minotaur's attention to something, it is still crystal clear nobody sees any of you yet. Even Ripley and Morbius essentially standing kind of out in the open because you're obviously invisible. So round one's going to start with Archimedes and Leo. Archimedes is up on top on the outside of the hairpin on the 20-foot ledge, and Leo is down on the ground about 25 feet away from Beefy Boy behind the rock with Dact.
Yes. Well,
And Leo is no longer invisible, so give
Correct.
me... I should take a stealth check from him.
okay. That's a 15 on the die for a 27.
Oh!
Hey.
Everything I've said so far as regards them not seeing any of you remains true. We don't have to rewind anything. All right, Archimedes and Leo. Remember priority here. Don't let any of them get back and report.
So Leo's got flight right now.
Yes.
Can he fly high enough to be above
He can be
the
above
two he
them
sees without and still be below our flight deck?
100%. And with the haste going, he's got a 90-foot fly speed.
So you see the square I'm pinging. That's 70 feet.
Okay.
If he's got 90 feet of movement, does that give him enough incline to get high enough to be out of... I mean, I know there's ranged things going on, but in terms of melee, would he be able to be out of their reach?
Yes. So they're 10 feet tall and they've got 10 feet of reach. So you got to get like 20 feet in the air.
Yeah, because he just wants to see what's going on. And then, because he can relay that to Archimedes.
Okay, great.
So he will take that flight.
So he soars into the air over Beefy Boy's head, over Gray Guy's head,
Oh, that puts him right above where he was planning on going.
and ends up
Puts him directly above the child.
directly above the kid. And of course, no invisibility, so everybody sees this magnificent, gleaming, metallic lion
The good
20
news
feet
is
in the air.
his AC is through the fucking roof
Nice,
right now. Though.
nice.
It's at like 30 with all the buffs.
Oh, yeah.
But
That's one move.
That's just one move. Oh, then he's gonna do a double move. He's gonna position himself so that he can, if Sick Eyes tries to start bugging out.
So he's going to duck behind the absolute last member of the Vanguard party on the ground.
He's gonna keep his height and go to there.
If he stays 20 feet in the air, he won't be able to attack them if they try to go by.
Then I guess he's got to go to the ground.
Or you can go just 5 feet down. Basically, if Leo can reach them, they can reach him.
Right.
So you want to just go 5 feet down, so you're 15 feet in the air, which would give you the ability to reach any Minotaur that went by you.
Yes, that's what I want to do.
All right. And then Archimedes.
So from here, from my position right here, Archimedes' position right here to Beefy Boy as the crow flies, that's 15 feet with the height differential. I've got 45 feet of range to cast the spell. I'm good, yeah?
What is the spell you're casting?
Ray of Sickening.
You got to get on the edge there. He's 20 feet down. I don't think from 10 feet back from the edge you can see someone 20 feet below you.
Yes, that logic makes sense.
I'm sorry.
And you will not be...
And you'll be visible.
You'll be visible if you cast an attack spell.
But we didn't come here not to attack them.
Yeah,
It's true.
I'm not
No,
saying
I
don't
mean,
do it.
that's-
I'm just saying.
It's Robert's
Understood.
character.
So he will move to there and he will cast Ray of Sickening.
All right, so Archimedes moves past Ripley, stands next shoulder to shoulder with Morbius, leans over the edge of this cliff 20 feet down to Beefy Boy below him, and casts a Ray of Sickening. Give me that ranged touch attack.
That's a 17.
What do you know? That hits.
Excellent.
So is it just flat out, he's just sickened?
Fortitude negates.
Here we go. 12.
He is sickened.
-2 penalty on all attack rolls, weapon damage rolls. That's nice. Saving throws, skill checks, and ability checks.
Great, so 8 minutes.
Nice. Longer than this fight should last. Up next is Bluebeard, who watches the golden lion materialize and get behind his party to cut off retreat, and sees this man appear on the ledge directly above. He is going to... I mean, we didn't come here not to use
Everything.
The railgun.
Now you can say it. Say it out loud proudly.
Yeah, it's a fucking railgun. Uses gravitons to compress raw metal scrap in its sequencing chamber into hyperdense shells that then accelerates to astounding speed, firing it from its electromagnetically charged barrel. Bluebeard raises his giant gun and unloads on Archimedes.
Archimedes? He's no threat. His armor class is not 30.
What's the range?
200 feet.
Come on.
And
Jesus.
yeah, I shouldn't say anything more about it.
Desna.
Oh, crap.
The 26 hit your AC, Archimedes.
It does.
16 points of damage as shards of metal go through your armor and through you. And Morvius, who's standing right next to him, is only saved from being in the path of this weapon that fires through solid objects because of the angle of Bluebeard being just low enough down there. So there's just like this stream of metal passing through Archimedes' body right past Morvius's face and then up into the sky. That's a full round action to fire the railgun, so that's Bluebeard's turn. I think at this point we see 2 enemies and 2 enemies alone. He's going to take a 5-foot step forward. Up next is Morvius, invisible behind Archimedes, who is gushing blood from the weapon that shot metal through his body.
Incorrect. Not blood.
Gushing strange fluids.
All right. Morvius is going to unload on he just saw what Bluebeard did, and that doesn't seem like something that we will be able to live very long with.
No.
So he's going to starting with the silence arrow because that seems like a good thing to quiet.
Hasn't been cast yet.
Oh, all right, well then never mind. Then he
I'm
will
next if you want to wait.
I mean, then he will stay there looking at you.
Yeah.
All right.
She'll draw her wand of cure light wounds and cast silence on the arrow in Morbius' hand.
Yes.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Morvius syncs up on Bluebeard and releases a flurry, a volley of flaming arrows.
Nice.
Bring it.
With rapid shot, haste, and we'll see if any of this actually works. Hopefully it does.
All right, in the first attack, you are invisible, so you get to add +2 to your bonus because you are invisible, to your attack roll because you're invisible.
Take that. All right, so my first one is a 22.
22 deflects off of his mithril chainmail.
Oh, that's really shitty.
Yeah.
Was
All
that
right.
the silence arrow?
It was, but it's still
It's
going to
on
be
the ground nearby.
Ground's there.
It's right
All
by
right.
where it's right. Let me put an X. I'm putting an X on the map.
Well, it's got a 20-foot radius silence. So.
Okay. All right, the second attack.
I am going to add to this one,
Yep.
and that would be a 24.
It just finds a little spot right near the shoulder. It lands.
All right. That one is going to be for 18 points of regular damage and 3 points of fire damage.
Awesome. Got it.
And then does a 27 hit.
That's a hit.
That's 14 points of piercing damage and 5 points of fire damage.
Nice.
And then 25.
Hit.
And that one is for 16 points of regular damage
Ooh.
and 3 points of fire damage.
Wow. With
And
a
then-
single round attacks, you have bloodied Bluebeard.
And then as a free action, I drop prone.
Yes, you do.
And nobody can hear him screaming.
Nobody can hear him screaming because the silence arrow is lying right next to Bluebeard. Amazing.
And I think it's blocking the whole canyon with its 20-foot. You know what I mean?
I do. I buy that. It's in a very good place to catch the bounce of echoes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I see that. Beefy boy.
This is going to be a bad stretch where they go a lot.
Beefy boy, who's right below Morvius and Archimedes, flattens his back against the cliff wall there and edges closer to Gray Guy and the kid so that he can get a bead on Leo hovering in the air. and unloads 2 giant harpoons out of his Minotaur crossbow. Now, there's going to be some cover here because of the Minotaurs in the path of attack here. Does a 10 hit you?
It does not.
2 gigantic harpoons go foom, foom, soaring out of this thing between the horns of the runt, right past Sick Eye's head, and then just Leo floats out of the way as they boom, 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 chunk into the canyon wall further back down the way.
Just one roll for both harpoons?
Yes. Then Beefy Boy drops that crossbow and then turns his eyes to the rocky cliff face right next to him and eyes how it's not much of a climb up for someone his height.
Oh, God.
The runt is up.
The worst possible thing that could happen.
The runt's got a laser pistol. He's going to shoot the laser pistol at the flying metal lion. 19 versus touch.
Yeah, that'll get me.
8 points of fire damage to Leo as he's hit by a laser. And then he moves around behind Sick Eyes to close with Leo. Sick Eyes is up. Sick Eyes has the 0 rifle.
Did that provoke an attack of opportunity?
He just entered your threatened area there. He went around behind Sick Eyes.
Never mind.
Sick Eyes takes a 5-foot step backwards and goes semi-automatic mode with the 0 rifle to fire twice on Leo. 22 touch.
I don't like this touch business. Yes, that hits.
And even higher, 2 hits with the 0 rifle. 4 points of cold damage on the first attack.
No.
And 10 on the second.
No.
No cold damage. Fantastic. Dact is up, crouched invisibly as the vanguard party is now circling back to attack Leo.
I'm drawing a line right now. Can you see it?
I do see it.
Thinking about making a beeline for the kid. Can I do that in a straight line? I mean, I'm invisible. So,
Yeah, you can close the kid. I think you would have to end in this specific square.
oh, okay. Yeah. And you can draw on a move.
You can draw on a move.
Fantastic.
So invisibly, Dact darts out into the center of the canyon floor, invisibly slips right past Beefy Boy, right past Gray Guy, and ends up in melee range with this child, now standing between the kid and 2 minotaurs. Oh my goodness. This kid, Paul, you would actually guess maybe closer to 8 or 9 years old. Really delicate features, pale skin, and then these glowing blue eyes. Creepy as heck. You gonna stab the child?
I'm going to stab the child.
Give me your attack roll.
So,
Attack.
I'm attacking with my +1 dagger.
Awesome.
First attack, that is a...
You only get 1 attack because you've moved.
Oh, okay. That's fine. That's a 28 to hit.
Flat-footed, that's a hit.
Okay, that's 8 points of regular damage. Not very good. But there's also
You get your sneak
attack damage. 17 points of
So a
precision damage.
Total 25 points of damage as that knife slides into the child. Now you can add some conditions to this kid. What are you going to do?
So the target becomes bewildered, taking a -2 penalty to AC
Yes.
and an additional -2 penalty against all attacks made by the rogue.
Awesome. And you are now visible
Ping!
in the middle of this shit show. As the child is up, turns to you, and reaches out a hand to stroke your face.
It's always in the face.
Oh.
It's not the face.
Does 22 hit your touch AC?
Just.
He just wanted to scritch his little chin, right?
Oh my god.
Oh no.
Dact takes 4 points of intelligence damage as they lose most of the memories of their childhood.
Whoa.
What's a memory that goes?
Yeah, what's the favorite memory that you just lost?
Oh, Dact lost the memory of their first love. Oh, boom. Thanks, kid.
You can't even remember their name anymore.
Grey Guy, towering over you, just drops his double crossbow, draws his great axe, sized for a giant, and swings down at Dact. 23.
AC?
Yeah.
Miss.
All right. Dact is dodging and weaving, trying to remember the name of a lost love, and that's the end of round 1. Top of round 2. Start with Archimedes and Leo. Leo is behind this whole shit show in melee with the runt at the rear of the party. Archimedes is standing up in the open air atop the cliff wall there on the inside of the hairpin.
Well, let's do Leo first.
Let's do it.
Shall we? I'm turning on power attack on Leo.
Turn it on again.
He's going to do 2 attacks because he's got the haste.
Bring it.
All right.
These are bite attacks, right?
Yes, these are bite attacks. All right, so first attack.
Bring it.
Natural 1.
No.
Oh!
Yes!
All right, he's re-rolling it. That's a 19 on the die.
Oh, yeah.
That is a hit on the runt.
That's a lucky number.
Wow.
I'll take it.
Perfectly executed.
That's 7 plus 16, so that's 23 points of damage. Plus 2 electric.
Right. Takes all of that, bloodying that Minotaur in a single bite.
Great. Second bite. That's a 24.
Hit.
Yes.
For 20 regular and 6 electric.
Dropping the runt.
Yes. Awesome.
Good kitty. Good kitty.
Nice job.
Nice job. And Archimedes.
He's going to give Morbius a guidance, say,
Do your best.
and then he's going
Fuck, you
to
think I've been doing?
and then
He's
he's
on the ground.
going to move back a
off,
few
will you?
feet.
Ducking behind Ripley. All right.
Hide behind the boss.
Ripley is not going to be there very soon.
She's still invisible, right?
Yep.
So you're hiding behind someone that's invisible.
I'm staying invisible, and you can't see me.
No,
Yeah.
but if Bluebeard fires at Archimedes, it might go through you anyways.
That's true.
I don't think that's how the rules work. but
Archimedes. Oh, it'll go right through you.
It's a line.
It's a railgun.
okay. Oh,
Archimedes has stepped well
Sorry.
behind the threshold of Bluebeard's line of sight. Let's see. So Dact is very close, but is sandwiched in the middle of this action. You see him fuck around with a couple of technological rings attached on his fingers that go by wires under his chainmail, and his jetpack fires
course, yes.
off, and he soars up into the air and flies around behind Archimedes, directly adjacent to him on this upper level.
God.
Well, that's a problem.
But that was a double move
Oh, that's
for
so
him.
bad.
Hey, Ripley, you're up. You got a Bluebeard 10 feet away from you.
Can I do move equivalent, swift, and a 5-foot step?
Yes, because none of those
Yeah.
move equivalents is a move.
Yeah. But where do I go? Because we're now surrounded by minotaurs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's happened. That is an accurate description.
Unbelievable.
But just, still being invisible, at least heading towards the southwest does put you closer to other minotaurs, but they don't know you're there. And you're up in the air.
but that puts me en route from
I know.
Beefy Boy to Morbius.
I know.
If I move to the east, I'm in railgun fire.
You sure are.
Bluebeard go back one step. If I don't move,
I have a suggestion for you.
okay.
Take a 5-foot step to get closer to Bluebeard. Is it maybe the
yeah,
safest
I think
place
it
to
may
be?
be the safest place to be. This whole thing is dumb.
Will that put Bluebeard in the sphere of invisibility?
No.
No.
It's only when it's cast.
That would be
That'd be amazing. And he
She
disappears.
takes a 5-foot step and is like, oh, hi. Okay. First, she will activate Morbius's cunning plan,
Click it on.
I am.
Dact's cunning plan,
Click it on.
and Leo's cunning plan.
Click them on. I'm guessing you're all taking the attack bonuses and stuff.
Yes.
Oddly enough.
I get to decide. You're all taking the
Oh,
attack.
okay. Right, because you're doing it.
She's a little fussy with Archimedes at the moment for becoming visible so soon. Right? But
I'm
that
sure
is
he's used to being fussed
where
at.
I have to go. Oh my God.
And you take a
I take a
5-foot step to
5-foot step.
close with Bluebeard, standing invisibly back pressed against that wall that leads up to the very top of the canyon wall here.
Good God.
Because it's the least terrible place to be. Oh, amazing. All right, Morbius, you are up, flat on your ass.
All right, get ready for this bullshit.
I love it.
All right, so I'm flying.
I came here for the bullshit.
So I'm going to take a 5-foot step straight up.
Yeah. Yes.
And now I'm no longer flat on my ass.
100%.
And that should also put me out of the line with Archimedes. Or no, I'm going to take it diagonally. So now I will not be in the line.
Into open air over the
Yes.
off the edge of the cliff.
Correct.
Yes. Oh, and then just visually, so you're lying on the ground, you just kind of roll over and then
Exactly.
float to the side.
Exactly.
Still lying
down,
prone,
but
you're
able to
flying.
fire because
That's awesome.
Because I'm flying.
And maybe Beefy Boy won't bother coming up now. He sees Morbius.
And I also am going to say that I can see a couple different corners of Bluebeard here, and Bluebeard is threatened by both Ripley and Archimedes. So I'm going to say that I get my coordinated
Ripley,
shot.
it doesn't have a weapon in hand. Did Archimedes?
I guess he never said he was taking his spear out, but he doesn't have anything. He hasn't used any wands. He hasn't used anything.
Great, so then that's fine.
I am threatening him with a wand to cure light wounds.
Take that. So Archimedes has spear in hand. So yes, Johnny, you get to use that. That
coordinated shot.
Nice.
Hasted, rapid shotting, doing
go.
all the things, and
Encouraged.
firing away, and encouraged. So, first shot is 19, and I can't. Adding 1 to that will not make it. Oh, I have to say it beforehand, so I wouldn't have done it then.
But you can use an action point. You have 1 action point.
I don't. I spent it already.
All right.
It has already been spent. That action point has already gone the way of the dodo. Let's see. Second one is a 32.
That's a hit.
That's definitely a hit. All right.
You're
Da-da-da.
firing at Blue.
Yes.
Bluebeard, yeah.
Third one is a 21. I keep not adding my thing to it. All right. Well, this last one, I would definitely add my guidance to it. So we'll see if it makes a difference. Oh, yes.
Did you get a natural 20?
There's a natural 20.
And the crit confirm?
Is a 30.
Critical hit.
Okay.
That'll
so,
teach him to jetpack up to a fucking platform. He doesn't know what's going on.
He'll
man.
never make that mistake again.
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to
He
be so
won't.
After
good.
you release him into the wild.
Okay, so the first one is
Tag his ear.
18 points of regular damage
Got it.
and 2 points of fire damage.
Got it.
And then, let's get ready for this. Oh my God. 58 points of piercing damage and 4 points of fire damage.
Oh my goodness.
It is like
This
so
is
there's
literally like slow-mo roll out into space kind of thing. Looking at it, and literally like he's got the big smile on his face like I'm about to railgun you both.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he sees me roll out into space and go boom, 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 boom.
and he just explodes and his head explodes in a shower of gore as the
Oliver
arrow
Ripley.
slides like right through his
Nostril.
porcine nose
Yes.
into his head, and then the arrow goes off with flame, so his head goes up in flame, burns off of him, and this gigantic minotaur tumbles to the ground.
he's still flying. He's still just like hovering
He's just
there.
bobbing on his jetpack.
He has to actually actively use the little thumb controls, so he just like crashes to the ground, and there's exhaust everywhere from the jetpack.
I believe his nose would be bovine.
Oh, bovine. Yes, thank you. That is
that
why
was
the android
amazing.
is here. Fantastic.
Nicely
Thanks, Data.
done.
Best time for a natural 20 ever.
That was fantastic.
Yeah. Fantastic.
All right, Beefy Boy. Seeing that Dact is surrounded and they got him covered, climbs up, succeeds at the DC 15 climb check, and can reach. He can get within reach of Morpheus and Archimedes and Ripley, though he does not know that Ripley is there. His hands were not. Let's see, so he's got to use this round. He's going to use the gore attack. He did not. Okay, so he didn't see what just happened. He's going for Archimedes.
Oh, boy.
Really
21. That's probably a miss, right?
Yeah, 22.
All right.
Because if Archimedes goes, so goes Leo.
Yeah, that would be very bad.
Sick Eyes is up, drops the cold rifle, closes with Leo, drawing his battle axe as he goes and takes a single swing. 26.
Nope.
Oh, wow.
His armor class is 30.
Oh, wow. All right.
I wasn't kidding when I said that
No.
earlier.
Dact, you are up between Gray Guy and the kid.
Oh,
Dact is going to take a full attack on the kid.
I mean,
The mouse
I mean,
is
yeah.
just knifing the child.
amazing.
First attack. Does a 29 hit?
Yes, it does.
That's 10 points. Second attack. Does a 25 hit?
You keeping it?
Yes.
Yes.
That's 10 points. And
He's just a child.
I'm going to use
How many hit points can he have?
Just a kid.
I'm going to use my action point to take another attack.
Yeah, you are.
absolutely.
Wait, weren't you hasted? Or you did miss?
Oh,
you,
no, I am hasted.
Right.
Do it anyway.
I mean, no, do the haste.
Do the haste attack first.
So do a haste attack first.
Kill him.
Does a 20 hit?
Yes.
Just a
He's just
That's
a kid.
12 more points.
And the child, whatever the fuck it was, drops.
Oh, I,
Paul,
don't-
you
I-
just knifed a child to death.
silently.
The mouse
Silently.
is knifing the child. That's a good vocal warm
so
up. The
so
mouse.
literally this child like reached up and like touched, like stroked your face, and you lost these memories, and then immediately just like shift.
The kid took his first love.
Yeah, that's right.
And so Dak took his life.
Gray Guy is looming over you, great axe in hand. Dact.
Yes.
You're probably now starting to see a little bit of like, maybe we're outclassed, but it's just a little mouse. A great axe swings.
Who has the chainsaw?
The dead Bluebeard.
Oh. Maybe I'll just grab it.
No! Natural 20!
Oh, backed up with
26?
No.
Okay.
Oh, that was close.
Man.
Okay, so merely 21 points of damage.
As it brings this giant axe down on you.
That is like 3 times your size.
Bloodied.
Second attack. Hey, 24, so that's a miss.
Miss.
All right.
He decks out of the way.
That's the end of round 2. Round 3's up. Archimedes and Leo are up. Archimedes is right next to a dead Bluebeard and right next to a very much alive but sick Beefy Boy. Leo is engaged in melee combat with Sick Eyes in the rear.
Let's do Leo first.
Yep.
Because that's the fun one. So with all his buffs now the damage is plus 18. All right, attack number 1. 27
Yep, hit.
for 21 points of regular damage, 6 of electric.
Again, blooding him in a single bite.
Second bite. That's a natural 20.
Yeah.
Oh,
Backed up with
come on.
Backed up with a 21.
critical hit.
Yes.
So 36 points of damage to start with. That's just the pluses.
Oh.
He has killed it. Let's just see what the total damage is.
That's so 5 plus 36, so 41, and then another 6, so 47 points of damage.
Oh my god.
man.
Rips the face off, which then Just you bite the cow face off this fucker, and then just toss the face, which splatters against the wall, still crackling with
So
electricity.
even with the haste, can I move now?
No, just a 5-foot step. But at this point,
Maybe get closer to Dact.
oh sure, we can at least just.
Well, I mean, 5-foot step. I'll be standing on top of one of these guys, or flying on top of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
You've won. You've conquered.
Archimedes.
Stride upon their corpses.
It's all quiet.
Still, no sound is
Just
retreated
silent
back.
over there.
So what's Archimedes gonna do? Take an attack with your spear. I mean, you're visible. It has 10-foot reach. It's gonna be hard for you to go anywhere.
That's true.
And you do know, because of fighting so long with Morvius, if you can stay there, you're adding to
Right.
his damage. And
Yeah, I may as well
rolls.
let's take a swing with this spear.
Or stab this spear. Thrust the spear.
I'm gonna thrust.
Thrust it.
I will thrust the spear.
And you're hasted, so you can take 2 attacks.
Well, actually, can I take 3 attacks? Because my BAB is 6.
Get out. Yeah, you can.
I will take 3 attacks.
Do it.
Attack number 1. That's a 16.
Keeping it?
You know what? I mean, what else is it going to use an action point
Right.
for?
You only get 1 before I kill all of you.
It's a 19.
That's a hit.
All right.
It was worth it. Let me tell you this. That was an action point well spent.
All right. Good. All right. I'll take it. Yeah.
I'll give that to you.
For 6 points of damage.
All right.
Second attack. No, that's an 11.
Okay.
And then final attack. No, 13.
All right. Ripley, you are up. You ended your last turn adjacent to one Minotaur. That Minotaur is now dead, but you're adjacent to another one now. Standing shoulder to shoulder with Archimedes,
Yeah.
right next to Beefy Boy.
But it doesn't know you're there.
Sure doesn't yet.
Is it hurt? Is it hurt at all?
Yes. It got hit. It got stabbed once by Archimedes.
And it's
And
sickened.
it's sickened.
It's not my job to be visible. 5-foot step.
Into the tangle of limbs Bluebeard leaves behind.
Move action. Activate. Inspire courage on Archimedes.
Great.
Standard action. Cure light wounds. Not from the wand.
Yeah.
On me. On old cyber buddy here.
Awesome.
Much appreciated.
11.
Oh, great.
Very nice. Thank you.
Morvius, you're up. Still floating in the air.
Morvius is floating in the air, and his eyes drift from the floating hunk of busted and blown out Minotaur
Yeah.
to Beefy Boy and goes,
Yeah, I think you're next.
Here we go.
makes him his study target.
And you don't provoke when you fire, is that correct?
Correct, because of point
Amazing.
blank master.
Okay.
Amazing.
So first, oh, that's another natural 20 with a crit confirm of 23.
Critical hit.
We're so good at this, guys.
That's 45 piercing and 6 fire.
Right through his head. He drops dead.
Oh my god.
That's 1. Can I see
Not in a million years, buddy.
gray guy?
No.
If I take a 5-foot step up, have I got enough height?
Yes, you do.
Then I will take a 5-foot step
Yes,
up.
you do. Continue your full attack.
But I didn't see them. I can't make them.
14s.
I can't make them a study target, so I have to take that off.
I was. Did you do it again?
Oh my god!
God!
That is a 34 with a crit confirm of 18.
Critical hit.
Holy shit! Holy shit!
Oh my god!
Is that 3 crits in a row?
Yes!
That's 53 points of piercing damage and 1 fire.
And it's dead.
Unbelievable.
Oh,
Oh my god!
My
you just
God.
saved Dact's life.
holy crap. Okay.
Well done, last
we did the
Chancers.
thing.
Boss, we're
Yeah.
done. We're done, boss.
I killed a child.
We'll deal with that later.
Good job, Dact.
So, you do know
Yeah.
anything that you find on them, you are entitled to. So I assume you would
Yeah.
grab all this amazing technological shit off these bodies.
But I also want to look at the kid and make my taking 20 on my knowledge check on whatever.
Right before Dact killed the kid, she turned on the Inspire Courage.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was part of the plan, was Dact was going to infiltrate
The whole
between
time.
the giant
Yes.
minotaurs
Yes.
and get the kid. That
Yes.
was going to be the target.
That was
It's like
Dact's
sneaking through
target
their
the whole
legs
time.
to knife the
Assassinate the
child.
child.
To assassinate the child. This thing is called a memory child. It is an outsider that eats memories. It actually has to consume a certain number of intelligence points per day or it begins to starve. Now, because Robert chose to have Archimedes do the communal protection against evil,
Yeah.
the other main thing it can do is flood in an area wave everybody with confusion. Now, it wouldn't have been able to not target the Minotaurs with that, but like that could have been just a massive shit show of everything on the
Yeah.
board except for it. And of course, it didn't know you had protection against evil.
Right.
And of course, because Dax just ran right at it and started knifing it, he's just like, well, I'm going to eat your memories. And then lasted around. So, kind of like everybody in
Wow.
this fight.
Always geek the mage.
Yes.
Amazing.
So you gather up all your spoils here, and you want to head back then?
Yeah, we want to boogie out of here.
Yes.
So you make your way back out of the box canyon towards the edge of the Echo Woods where the bosses were to be taking on the caravan and its guards. The cloud cover's gotten heavier and heavier. You can no longer even see the moon, the full moon, and the temperature has dropped. And there is this, as you leave the canyon, there is this mist springing up out of the ground where these two landscapes are colliding, the wastelands and the forest. And even though you can't at first see the fight, you hear the fight between the bosses and the caravan from a little ways off. People are dying and they are being butchered. Men are screaming in agony, but not like in a prolonged manner. It's like a chorus of completely unhumorous Wilhelm screams out there. Death is being doled out in the most painful and most efficient manner possible. As you fully leave the cover of the box canyon, making your way through the mist about halfway back to this point where you know they were going to attack the caravan, you hear just all sound stops, dead silence. Probably heard 20 or 30 guys get butchered, and then it's absolutely quiet. And you do come across the aftermath of your boss's wake of destruction. So many corpses. Dozens of human men in Chalaxian plate mail just butchered. And soon you reach the wagons.
Butchered how?
Yeah, like by what?
The effects of a large bladed weapon, a small piercing weapon, and then a whole bunch of evocation spells. You'd see a mix like that. And then finally, you reach the wagons, these large shapes looming and rectangular and menacing in the mist, and you find them, your bosses. 3 men standing in a little arc over one fallen enemy. Their backs are to you as they're looking down at this last victim who seems to still be alive, barely, writhing in agony on the ground, and the bosses are whispering quietly to each other. And then, as though he's got this outstanding sense of hearing, the rogue, their leader, stops their conversation with a gesture and turns back to face you. He's a Varisian man, young, around 20, dark hair and goatee. He's dressed all in black except for a bright orange scarf, the ends of which feature an embroidered black triangle. These triangles match the tattoos on his face, a spiral of equilateral triangles covering his left cheek. He holds this jet black rapier in his hand, and the tip of it seems to be actively bleeding. It's not just covered in blood, it is bleeding. He makes eye contact with Ripley.
Who nods?
Report.
Job's done.
What the fuck was that kid about?
You ever heard of a memory child?
Never have, no.
Dak took a blow, but we took them all down quick.
Well, things here were not exactly as expected, but, into each life a little chaos must fall, am I right?
That's right, boss.
You see,
Statistically, that is true.
you see one of the other 2 men, the giant, one-eyed, gray-skinned orc, kneel down and casually shove a dagger into the side of this person writhing on the ground, kind of jiggles it around as the victim is hissing in agony. You ready for your payment? You, as promised, you keep whatever you found on the scouts there, and here. He tosses you a silken sack stuffed with what sounds like metal, and inside it's a heap of small metallic discs etched with tiny lines of circuitry, all glowing slightly blue. Now, people in these parts call them silver discs. They are usable either as currency, each one is more valuable than a platinum piece, but those in the know also know that they are fully charged batteries for Androthan technology. You're looking at roughly 50,000 gold pieces worth of either cash or energy, however you want to spend it.
Let's buy a spaceship, guys.
Now, we're going to have some fun here. And you don't want to be any part of this. Get out of here. We will find you if we need your services again.
Ripley nods again and ushers everyone away.
Remember, my friends, fortune favors the bold.
Fuck yeah.
So the 5 of you head out. Where do they head out to? Give me a sense of what you think the next arc of their lives look like, in case I can use it against you in the future. Do they stick together? Do they split up? More of the same? Different kind of life? Different location of the world? What do you think?
I think the first thing they would do is go hide and divvy up all the stuff.
Yep.
See what they got. Ripley has Identify and plenty of first level spell slots, so if there's anything magical in there.
Plenty of magical stuff, too. They were
Yeah.
all wearing magical armor. They had rings of protection, all that kind of stuff.
This is a team. But then she would suggest they go their separate ways for a little while and regroup in a few weeks, just in case there's any blowback from this. That's just like
No heat.
SOP. That's what they do. They have a place they meet. She keeps looking at Dact because they don't know what happened to him.
Yeah.
But there's something different about him.
Yeah. So there's something a little vacant behind it.
Yeah.
Unusually
Will
vacant
he ever
behind
get
the
those back?
I mean,
Those
it's just
memories?
damage, so a couple of restorations will.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the memories are
she,
gone.
She will hand him. I know he has one probably, but she will hand him her potion of lesser restoration. Like, drink up, kid.
Even with the restoration, the memories are still gone.
Memories are
Yeah.
gone. The child ate them.
Yeah.
So we split up. Where does Ripley go?
Ripley goes like, what's the closest big city? She goes and has some.
Probably Daggermark in the River Kingdom.
She goes somewhere she doesn't have to think for a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's,
She
there's-
goes to a pleasure,
Yes.
blah blah blah, whatever. Fill in the blank. That's where she goes and spends. But she's very conservative with her money. She's always building towards something. So like, she's gonna wait to find out if these silver discs are worth spending as cash to build toward that whatever enterprise, her own, formal crew, a bigger hideout, a bigger whatever.
Yeah.
Or if they're worth more as energy
Yeah.
for the things she got. She's belaying that decision for a while and just kind of getting lost and not thinking about that she watched her friend walk up to a little kid
Knife
and
him.
murder him. That there's no room for that stuff. So this
Yeah.
is when she clears her mind.
Where does Dact go?
Yeah, I think with that in mind and the loss of the memory, that Dact ends up going to a more of like a nearby township and spending their money on forgetting and numbing some of the disturbing experience that they had. Spend a little of their money.
Not too far away from here, on the edge of the mountains, there's a city in Ustalov that has a lot of medical schools, a lot of doctors. There's a lot of crazy drug action going on. I think Dact slips into Rosenport, and oh no. By the timeline, does Dact end up on the table? Oh no! Oh my gosh!
No, it's way too early.
We'll see.
Does Dact even know that?
Dact
what
doesn't
memory
know
he
what's
lost?
missing
Yeah,
except
right.
this hole where love used to be. So there's an emptiness there.
Yeah, and it's like someday you have that, like, you just think about the thought of a long lost love comes up, and it's like you don't even remember if you experienced that before.
Right.
Oh my God, that's sad.
You didn't.
Yes, effectively you
experience
didn't.
it. Right.
And what about Morbius?
I think that Morbius probably follows Ripley because he doesn't really know what to do without someone else kind of in charge of him.
Yeah.
And
He's a
so
soldier. He's a soldier.
He's really like a soldier. He's a little bit too much like that guy from The Expanse,
Yeah.
where
Amos.
he's just
Amos.
kind of like, all right, like I need someone to kind of keep me on a moral center here, and somehow this ringleader is the best thing that I have going. And so he just kind of like follows her to like this place, and then you know gets like a hotel like a block away.
Yes.
And
Just
it's
far enough away.
Just far enough away to so not to be like a creeper.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like, all right,
And waiting
kinda-
for the next
Ready
mission.
when
just
you
hanging
are,
out,
boss,
waiting for
yeah.
the next mission.
Love it.
Ripley
You know-
totally knows he's there.
Yes, of course.
And is
And-
just
And probably doing like the weird Hawkeye thing of like literally sets up like a thing in his room and is just like shooting arrows into
Endlessly.
a target.
Yeah.
And just like,
staying sharp.
yep, just doing that and just like do, trying to like find some way to keep his brain from shutting down.
And what about Archimedes and Leo?
I think he has a place,
He
but
has
it's
to, right?
but it's literally just a room.
Yeah.
I think he's anxious for when they meet up again. He wants to meet up with them all again because they accept him and he doesn't have to pretend he's not the thing he is.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, he's fascinated, I think, by these silver discs, and he wants to see if the silver discs have any interaction with Leo, and if there's anything that he can concoct with that.
Like
But I think-
supercharge the cat.
But other than that, I think he pulls a knit cap down over his head to cover up the little jewel on his forehead.
Yeah.
And he pulls out of his pack whatever the Galarian equivalent of like a representation of the universe is,
Oh.
with a little dot that says "You are here," and he hangs it on his wall, and that's where he hangs it up.
Nice.
Aw, nice.
So let's turn our attention back then to your bosses. Gavroni Stoicha, Nicholas Maria, and Mej One Eye. Ripley, Morvius, Archimedes, and Dact don't know what happened to them next. But thanks to Wirelai's journal, our friends on the Sullen Starling do. Because pieces of the next 60 years or so of her saga are recorded by Wirelai in that yellow journal you recovered from the Bloodwind, recorded both diligently and chaotically in a jumbled mess of rage and passion and honestly hard to parse alien structure and logic. And because it's time to level up, my friends, main PCs and backup buddies, level 9.
Yes.
And because as Dora, Grip, Vic, and Dabs dreamed of Dora securing the greenstone idol of a water lizard, Barnabas was busy finishing his 7th day working on that journal. And as he now hits level 9, he can make his linguistics check to see if he can add this new language, the tongue of Lang, to his list of languages known.
Excellent.
And if he fails, Dora will be able to make the same check after one more block of reading. So either Barnabas or Dora can share this with you. You'll all learn it soon enough. We'll make those rolls next time we meet.
Outstanding.
So the writing's chaotic, and the tongue of Lang is literally nightmarish. Right? Reading it, knowing the language, tracking your eyeballs over the symbols causes a slight headache. But a narrative can be pulled out of the yellow journal. And it goes like this. 3 men made a choice, and that choice shaped the lives of all who followed. So this caravan you all attacked tonight, this caravan was the property of Wirelai. She was not the stranger then, not in that life. She was not a slaver yet in that life. But she was working on the edges of the nascent Technic League, and she was stockpiling and selling technological weapons in and around Numeria. She'd kept her operation quiet for quite some time, but she got too big, and your bosses took notice. Wirelai didn't typically travel with her caravans, but this one was too big for her to let go without her, because she was moving her entire stockpile. The northern river kingdoms had been a safe place to keep them hidden for a time, but in the growing chaos down there, she needed to find a new home for all this Androphan weaponry she had dug out of the caves and caverns and canyons, and kept them hid as she sought out the highest bidders. So she was present this night when she wasn't expected to be. This caravan held all of her worldly wealth, and Gavroni, Nicholas, and Mej just claimed it. There were so many technological items, more than the 3 of them were even expecting, more than maybe they could even figure out. But they'd be damned if they'd not try to figure it all out. So they got to work. Gavroni, Nicholas, and Mej were master torturers. Masters. And as if close-up, down-and-dirty torture isn't awful enough to picture, just imagine what they could do to a living being with fast healing. With the medical know-how and the magical means to keep a living, sentient being perpetually hovering at death's edge, perpetually suffering, perpetually through the own mechanisms of her body healing just enough to keep the torture going forever. Just imagine what 3 of the most brutal sociopaths could do to someone who didn't want to give up her secrets. Just imagine. Wherein suffering was beyond description, and it lasted longer than a mortal could possibly withstand, but eventually she gave up the details of each and every one of her atom guns, and her plasma throwers, her force field generators, gravity clips, her hemochems, and her nanite bombs. And when Gavroni, Nicholas, and Mej finally had the information they needed, they killed Wherein. Or at least, and this is the piece they didn't know about, they sent her back to Leng. And thus began her quest for vengeance, loss, and consequence. It took her 10 years of waking world time, thus who knows how many decades or centuries in the nightmare, for her to make her way back to the material plane. Unknown years of further agony and humiliation in the slave pits of the moon beasts, but return she did. And then she began hunting down her torturers. She learned that the 3 men had split their haul and gone their 3 separate ways. Gavroni Stoicha abandoned his given name and used his share to build the Drozha clan into a sprawling crime empire in Varizia. He became the Serpent of the Lost Coast, the Triad. Nicholas Maria abandoned his name and used his share to claim dominance over one of the worst cells of the Technic League. He became the warlord known as Feshka Nellet and claimed a vast chunk of land near the Black Pipe. Mej One Eye kept his name, but used his share to return to Garund, kill the chieftain of his old tribe, and take it over. And as he took over more and more tribes during his brief period of ascendancy, he became known to outsiders and the gnolls of the region simply as the Conqueror. It took Wherein 9 years after her return to the real world to hunt down Nicholas, aka Feshka Nellet, and she arrived just in time to witness his own child murder him in his own throne room, a knitting needle through the eye into the brain. And her rage at her vengeance being stolen from her was blinding as the sun, but a seed of something new blossomed as she realized she might be able to visit vengeance not just upon her torturers, but upon their entire lines. She could enslave and corrupt and eventually kill her killers' children, maybe even their grandchildren, for as long as she could get away with it. Nicholas was gone. She could no longer hurt him directly, but this child will do nicely. She took Anathema, eventually known as Tima, into custody. She knew now that her work was going to be on a much longer timeline than she anticipated. She needed resources. This is when her path to becoming the Stranger began. She couldn't build up technological wealth anymore. The situation in Numeria was very different than it had been 2 decades earlier. So she turned to the other industry she knew like the back of her hand, slavery. She built up her empire in the Inner Sea region, and in her free time, she continued to search. Gavroni was nearly impossible to find. He was a ghost. He never used a single name more than once. Mej she could trace to Garund, but his whereabouts got lost in the desert, and she couldn't quite connect the name the Conqueror to him for many years, but she continued her search. And during this period of time, she met Namira Lowles and became initiated into the mysteries of the King in Yellow. This worship of Hastur proved to be a potent drug for her. The promise of answers for the pain and suffering she had been subject to, the promise of power to confound and destroy her enemies, the promise of a true, mighty, eternal shepherd into whom she could funnel her pain and rage, his promise that all mortals would one day, if the whispers were true, perhaps someday soon, that all mortals would be subjected to enslavement, debasement, and devouring. It was all so appealing. It took 17 more years to track down who Gavroni had become, and when she did put the pieces together, she discovered that he and most of his family had died several years earlier from some plague or other that had swept through the Lost Coast. They called it the Red Death. But she eventually found his sole surviving nephew in an orphanage in Riddleport. Seeing how miserable he was there, she waited until he was 9 years old, exactly as Tima had been. Before claiming him, she liked the symmetry. Numbers hold a powerful attraction to creatures from the realm of nightmare and to devotees of the dark tapestry as symbols and portents. 3 killers, 3 children, 3 times 3, 9 years to find Tima. The first 9 years of Tima's life, all of it amused her and fed her. She even saw patterns in what was purely, objectively coincidence. Gavroni became known as the Triad. Nicholas had a council of advisors called the Trident. The old One-Eye had 3 sons, on and on and on. So, at what he thought was his lowest moment, she took Victor, now calling himself Roni, into custody. And little did he know how much worse was to come. After 3 more years, perfect. Once he, too, turned 9 years old, she found and claimed the runt Riptusk. For a time, she tried placing them in various different kinds of captivity. Roni and Riptusk wasted away years in Biting Lash's grim granite fortress. But by 4703, 15 years ago, she had all 3 children of her tormentors enslaved and debased in the Alols estate. All 3 manipulated, used, and brainwashed. All 3 with the arc of their lives stolen from them and twisted into a path of servitude to her own dark god. All 3 scheming and hating and miserable, murdering and stealing, plotting against each other. None of them knew hope. None of them knew love. All of them working with that idiot Hazerton on his adorable little project involving the god of shit that her god had shit out. 3 men tortured and murdered a monster, so that monster enslaved and tortured and planned to murder their children. The trauma left behind in the wake of those 3 villains spawned a whole new generation of trauma. And that new generation delivered so much trauma onto each other and everyone whose path they ever crossed, loss and consequence in a descending spiral with seemingly no end. And finally, in the last entries in this journal, Weirelai had decided that the decades of emotional torture had been sufficient and satisfying, and she was headed back to the Lowell's estate to begin the final physical torture and murder that she owed each of them. At last. She was on top of the world. After 58 waking years and untold centuries in the dream, her vengeance would be complete and nothing could take it away from her. Except, as it turns out, Hazerton Pragmus Lowles IV. Oopsie. Her plans were thwarted, epically in fact, because it turns out that Hazerton's little pet project was far more involved and consequential than she knew. But of course, her plans had been thwarted before, and that hadn't stopped her from pursuing the vengeance she craved so deeply. Yet now it seems, after reforming in Leng, Weirelai just has other priorities now? Something more important than visiting retribution upon the 2nd generation of 3 bloodlines who'd murdered her twice now? What could be more pressing? To this being whose actions and motivations you're finally able to start wrapping your heads around, when your characters wake from the dreamlands, it will be the first day of the year 4719. 4719. The seed of Jamandor in your heads, especially in Barnabas's poor fuzzy little head, the star seed will be telling you, each of you, over and over and over, that everything that has ever happened has happened on the road to Haster's ascension. It is inevitable. And beginning on the 1st of Abadius, your minds will also begin to process that dull, throbbing refrain, always, always, always at the back of your minds. Maybe not just as it is inevitable, but also as it is nigh. Hazerton Lowles, devoted servant of Jamandor, is traveling to Neruzavin. And now Weirelai, the devoted servant of Haster, is also traveling to Neruzavin. What the hell is going on in Neruzavin? That's the end of our 2nd interlude. We'll see you next week. Dark Nexus is produced by Plug and Hum Productions. This podcast uses trademarks and/or copyrights owned by Paizo Incorporated, used under Paizo's fan content policy. This podcast is not published, endorsed, or specifically approved by Paizo. For more information about Paizo Inc. and Paizo products, please visit paizo.com. That's Paizo.com. Dark Nexus uses music and soundscapes by Syrinscape. Check them out at Syrinscape.com. That's Syrinscape.com. Opening and closing themes, along with additional music composed by Rob Kauzlaric. Artwork for Dark Nexus is by Matt Wahlquist. And thanks to DMCP, Richard and Ari, Paul and Shannon, Scotty, Jason, Jess, Joe, Chelsea, Matt, Dave, Derek, Darren, Michaela, J.H., the Biscuit Buddies, and everyone we've gamed with over the years for all the memories and inspiration.
Yay!
I've been waiting for this my whole
And we
life.
level. Level.
Double level.